What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode here on the After Hours podcast. My name is MrJ Gilbert. As always, we got the greatest co-host this side of the Mississippi, Schmidtty32. And man, we got an interesting one for you today. A lot to talk about in a short amount of time. And then we should probably rush out of here because we have Helldivers to get to.
We have Helldivers.
Democracy is calling. We need to spread liberty.
Exactly.
Before we do that,
you're against us.
Before we do that, man, Schmitty, go ahead and introduce yourself to all of our viewers.
Well, welcome on in, everyone. If you're not familiar with who I am, Schmidtty32, charity variety streamer, currently raising money and awareness for Mental Health America of Ohio. We stream Tuesdays through Saturdays, do a variety of content, but focus mainly on Helldivers at the moment and Last Epoch when I feel like it. I'm sorry, Fuji, sorry, voice. But otherwise, yeah, you can find me Tuesdays through Saturdays. If you need a good place to come hang out, listen to some chill tunes, catch some Pokemon, and drop some units and Stream Raiders, you can come find me at twitch.tv/Schmidty32.
Let's go. My name is MrJ Gilbert. I am a teacher by day, streamer by night. I stream a variety of games, community-style games, where you, the viewers, are able to join me if there's an open spot. Lately, I've been focusing on Skull and Bones and Helldivers. I stream every Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, 8:30 p.m. Central Time. So if you have the time, please come in, stop by, and say hello. Schmitty,
Amazing.
We have some things and stuffs to talk about.
We do.
Okay. And before we do that, I always like to start off with our first segment of What's on Your Mind? So, Schmitty, what's on your mind these days?
You know, I was thinking about you and how much you're gonna love this, and by love this I mean hate me talking about consciousness and science and stuff again. Yeah, dude, it was an interesting theory I was reading the other day on my lunch break, but it was talking about how the sun may or may not be conscious.
That's not.
Could you imagine?
It's not. Like that.
But
See, science is just grasping at straws at this point. Like, there's no.
it's the theoretical. It's just like the what if. It's like the Marvel's what if. It's like, what if this is real or that is real?
Yeah, the sun's having a bad day, so it's going to put out extra solar flares. Come on, man.
Maybe.
Stop it.
The argument that it makes here, and it again, you have to go into like what exactly is consciousness? Is it as we think of like biological, like animals with brains, and stuff like that?
Yeah.
But the argument it's making there with something like this is, let's say before it sends off like a, coronal mass ejection or something, and this will deal in part with physics where, for every effect there's an equal and opposite, or for every reaction or action there's an equal and opposite reaction. And so it's like the sun might not, be, exploding because it's having a bad day, but it's like, if that pressure is building up, like let's say a volcano, like you could say that maybe there's a consciousness to the volcano because you would have to be aware of that pressure building up.
Yeah.
And then once it, and then to release it, it's like that's the the effect that essentially you have to be able to recognize those changes in the environment and be able to adapt to those changes. And they might not have much control to be like, hey, I'm going to explode. But if they weren't able to, if like the molecules or whatever were not able to react to the pressure building up, then there's nothing. So it's like talking about a form of consciousness that's different from the biological ones that we ourselves experience as like biological beings through brains and stuff like that. But I just thought it was an interesting little concept that the whole like thought of physics and stuff like that might be a kind of a tangent of consciousness, where it might not be what we exactly think of it as, but that just those actions in general, the action and reaction, like you would have to be able to notice that the action is happening to have that reaction to it. So it's like is the sun possibly like, could we say that that is a form of consciousness or sentientness?
I guess
it was an interesting topic.
So let me be blunt here for a second.
Do it.
Do you actually believe that, or do you just like the style of reading that just like gets you thinking? Do you get what I'm trying to ask? Because a lot of articles, they're just like, oh, that's cool. Like it just kind of gets you thinking, the what if or whatnot.
Uh-huh.
But is that the case, or do you truly believe something like that exists?
Uh, I truly think, I mean, honestly, at the end of the day, I think something like Star Wars, like the Force, like something that,
Yeah.
like an energy, something that does kind of connect everything.
Uh huh.
I do believe in 1,000%,
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
1,000%,
Yep.
which is mainly, I feel like why I'm so focused, and so interested in that subject because it's just like what, lately, this is another thing, and I'll kind of go off on this for a little bit, but reflections.
Yep.
I was driving to work the other day, and there's a river that runs along kind of the highway where I'm at, and anyway, there's some like brick buildings and stuff on the other side, but it's like the river was kind of calm that day, so you saw the reflections of the building in the water, and just the fact that the light has to hit the building, get reflected back into the water, and then just those water molecules like themselves, like you can't get a reflection from brick, you can't get a reflection from the concrete, and it's like
Sure.
just the fact that water as a molecule can refract that light in a way to mimic and mirror the object that the light came from. I don't know, I just started thinking about that the other day, and like how the molecules would have to be structured,
Right.
and just the fact that like water reflections happen are kind of a truly amazing thing at the end of the day.
Man, who would have thought that this would turn into a science podcast?
Maybe that's why Dyslexic wasn't here, because we were playing last night, and I was like, I got one for Mr. J, and I don't think he's gonna like it. He's gonna be like, again, Schmidty, again.
And Dyslexic's like,
He
God, I don't want to be part of
He was
that.
like, I don't even want to deal with that, bro. My brain already hurts.
Gosh,
Don't wanna deal with that.
man, you always come with like the hard hitting ones, and I'm like, gosh, why are you making me think right now?
Yeah. Like, why is mustard good? Yeah.
Oh man, it's like my topic is literally just on women's basketball right now.
Yeah, I think what have they won two now?
So yeah, so the Caitlin Clark is still dominating. Iowa
Uh-huh.
girls won again. They face Colorado now in a couple days. Heartbreaker though with the Iowa State women's against Stanford. Do you see that?
Not.
So man, Audie Crooks, the center for she's a freshman, I believe. The center for Iowa State women's is just a beast, and she put up 40 points the other day. And Stanford, I believe, is ranked 2 or 3, something like that. And Iowa State took them into overtime. Ended up losing, but took them into overtime.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So like Iowa State women's is an up and coming like program. I feel like they keep progressing. Like they're looking really good. So I mean,
Yeah.
they lost, but they did really good. Iowa advances again. They're in the, I believe it's Sweet 16 now against Colorado. But then Iowa State men's, they're looking tough,
All the way, baby.
dude. They'll have Illinois coming up. That's gonna be a tough fight for them. But
Yes, we will fight for Iowa State, and may her colors ever fly. Oh, I know that. I just don't want. I didn't.
is that really it? And is that, do you fight,
Yeah,
fight, right? Do you?
No. Will to or yeah.
I don't know fight songs. That's why I don't.
Yep.
I don't. But
It
yeah,
goes,
so I mean,
we will fight for Iowa State, and may her colors ever fly. Yes, we will fight with might for Iowa State, with the will to do or die. Rah, rah. Loyal sons forever true, and we will fight the battle through. And when we hit that line, we'll hit it hard, every yard for ISU.
wow.
I once had somebody, they were talking to me about how they were a Hawkeye fan. I was like, yeah, what's their fight song? And they were like, and I was like, yes, we will fight for Iowa State.
Dude, I don't even know any
Posers.
fight songs, man.
Bunch of fucking posers. Fly,
But
eagle, fly.
see, like
on
me-
the road to victory.
Me personally, I just want
Fly,
Iowa
eagle,
teams to
fly
win. You know, I
with-
just go for all Iowa teams. When they play each other, I go for the Hawks. But
The Niners have a song.
yeah, they do. All right, next
Yeah.
topic. I'm pretty sure they do, but I don't.
Thought so.
Yeah,
I thought so. I learned something.
Come on, man.
We could
Come
talk
on.
about how Jason, not Jason, but Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift were caught on a beach in the Caribbeans, and she was wearing a thong bikini, baby.
Heyo.
It happened. It happened. There's pictures.
Why wasn't Travis Kelce
Taylor.
wearing that thong bikini? Huh? Heyo. But yeah. So anyway, that's on my mind lately. Just obviously March Madness, Iowa teams representing so far, and
Yeah, they've been holding good.
I hope Caitlin Clark continues. And then now in the men's side, all we have left is Iowa State. So I hope they kind of make a little run. In my bracket, I actually filled out a bracket. I did have them losing next round to UConn.
Ooh.
So
Iowa State needs to win.
dude,
Yeah,
UConn's
I'm not a big basketball fan.
Yeah.
I'm over it. When things become so popular, it's like it's all I hear at work all day,
Yeah.
every day, and I'm just like, yesterday at work, everyone was like, "Oh my God, I wonder what shoes she's gonna wear. Are they gonna do these like ultra rare shoes for $500 or those ultra rare?" And they're like, "Oh, I
Yes.
found these on Amazon or somewhere."
Right.
I'm just like, I don't give two shits about shoes, but yeah, everyone was like, "I wonder what shoes she's gonna wear. This is the last home game ever. I wonder what Jordan is she gonna wear? These Jordans or those Jordans?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't give two flying fucks.
Yep.
I know so many shoe collectors, and it's just like I have two pairs.
Dude, I had
That's
the
it.
same shoes from like 4 years ago. So
My work shoe, yeah, I buy a new pair every 2 years or something like that, and that's it. I
man,
usually rock two pairs where I have my like, work shoes, and then if I have to have like, if I have to dress up for something, or have to wear like a shirt and tie, I have like kind of a dressier black pair of shoes.
Yep.
But that's it.
Yep.
That's it.
Yep, same man. Like I
Fucking
used
ridiculous.
I used to not be a shoe collector, but I used to have a variety of different shoes. Now I'll have the same shoes for 4 years, and then the sole will fall out in them, and I'm like, oh, gotta go buy a new pair now.
Never really did the shoes, but back in the day, I did have quite a nice little not wine bottle, but liquor bottle collection and beer can collection. Because working at a bar, we had a lot of different cool things. Then you get to know people, and they would be places, and they would bring like their own kind of beer or liquor in for you to try, or to come over to your house and drop it off for you. And so I used to have quite a little collection of liquor bottles.
You know what you do have a good collection of? Pogs.
Yeah, I do love Pogs.
Go in his Twitch channel sometime, get enough channel points, and redeem it to where he'll show you his Pog collection.
Yeah, I do have to send out puppy mail again here next week. We did have another puppy mail.
I mean, I have enough that I could. I have enough that I could do it. Let's see how much.
Voice made it.
Dude, I have
So Luke's getting a haircut on Tuesday, and then we're gonna get those made next week and get them shipped out.
I have 232,000 channel points in your stream.
Speaking of the little dude who needs a haircut,
232,000. Look at that thing.
You need a haircut, buddy.
See, right there, our ratings just skyrocketed.
Just went up. We actually now have 4 people watching.
Yes.
This is great. All right, you got to go now.
All right, man. Let's get to some discussion topics.
Yeah, I'm curious. I'm interested in this one
A couple of big names on the docket for today, and
I'm waiting for
excuse me.
it.
I'm actually surprised with this one, and I'm surprised that you don't know much about it because
I know all about these.
Oh,
issues.
do you?
I've been watching stuff on it, and I'm like, God, I dodged a bullet. Mr. J's going to come in here and be like, Schmidtty was talking about this shit
because
for months.
You were
about how I was going to pre-order this, and this was going to be my main. And
you were, though, were you not?
I know 100%. So when I saw this on there, it was something I planned on talking about anyway, because it definitely needs to get talked about.
Yes.
But I was like, Mr. J's going to be like, come on, Schmidty, what the hell happened? So if you guys have not figured it out yet, we're going to be talking about Dragon's Dogma 2. And just how well received it has with the smoothest launch and frame rates that has probably ever happened in gaming ever.
Since Cyberpunk.
Yeah, oh my God, dude. And again, it's just all of these AAA studios, but Capcom, like, I'm really kind of surprised that Capcom dropped the ball like this.
Yeah.
Because they're usually pretty reliable when it comes to games. At least as far as I know. I guess I don't buy many Capcom games. Is Monster Hunter a Capcom?
Monster Hunter's Capcom, yep.
Yeah, I was gonna say they're generally known to be fairly. I mean, I don't want to say trustworthy is not quite the right word, but they have a pretty good track record of having like
Yeah.
good games at launch. But this, oh my god, dude, they have definitely been having some issues. I definitely understand the frustration with all the microtransactions. There's no fast travel unless
You pay for it,
you want
right?
to pay money.
I heard that.
And and granted, it's kind of like Helldivers, where to some extent it is a little blown out of proportion because, like Helldivers, it's like, yeah, you have the super credits. Yeah, super credits. There are microtransactions,
Uh-huh.
but they're pretty readily available in the game. So it's like same with that it's like you are still going to earn those currencies in game
Regardless, okay. Yeah, yeah.
regardless. So it's like some people are just coming out and being like, "Oh, this is stupid." And it's like I get it, but again, this is stuff that you can earn in game, but being a $70 game
Yeah. Yeah.
and having that many things kind of locked behind a microtransaction like paywall
Well,
is what the
I think
fuck,
even
dude.
too, like back to the frame rate issues, man. I think Capcom's even saying in like one of the most recent updates that's coming out, they're
Yeah, it's
not
capped at 30.
yeah, they're still not addressing the frame rate issues.
Yeah. It's been just an absolute I guess the PS like 5
Yeah.
has been doing well, or like the next gen consoles have been doing well, but once again, this is another case of a PC port just being absolute garbage.
Yeah, I honestly
Um,
thought we were about to turn a corner. You know, with like Baldur's Gate, with
right?
Helldivers, I thought we were about to turn a corner where games would start doing better because they see
Well,
the success.
I think that's what we're going to see, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, because just think of how long this game has been in production. When did Baldur's Gate come out? Or Baldur's Gate 3? Like that game was
Yeah,
already,
yeah,
was in production for 2-3 years. So it wasn't until this year, how we talked about
yeah,
January, February, and now March, that Pal World, Helldivers, like Last Epoch, Enshrouded.
yep.
There's all of these like indie games that are breaking through, and they're setting sales records. I think Helldivers was up to over 8 million
Eight.
copies sold.
Oh, copies. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and just the other day I was on Helldivers. There was 400 some thousand people on playing.
yeah,
And so I would look at the Steam, and yeah, Steam would only be getting up to, maybe 300 to 350,000 players.
yep.
And that doesn't count the PlayStation people playing as well. So when I saw on there, when I was looking at the map, that there was like 415,000 people playing, I was like, holy shit, dude. I mean, talk about player retention. And we're definitely a little later gonna talk more about Helldivers. That'll be coming up.
Are
But
we ever
it's
gonna
just
not
another
talk about
case
it?
of these AAA games like Dragon's Dogma 2. I feel like I dodged a bullet on that one
Yeah,
again. It was one I was gonna get it, but I'm like $70.
yeah.
Ugh. And then I got these two, and I'm like, this is entertaining enough. Particularly when I got Helldivers, I
Yeah.
think like a lot of folks, it just struck such a chord in me that I get excited to play and I want to play. And when we had that big major order where we had, I think, 5 planets to clear in 3 days, I didn't even get to touch one of the major, like, whatever prime planet. And because I didn't play for 3 days, and I felt so bad that I'm like, I'm not even going to see what this world looks like.
Hmm.
Like, I'm never going to start. Is it like a jungle world, a rocky world? Is it like, I don't know. It's just, I feel like I was missing out on something. And that's the magic to Helldivers that just keeps you wanting to come back, because it's just, you feel like you're just a part of something, that you are an active participant in the game, not just kind of going through the motions like, okay, I know I need to go there, kill that person, okay, and then there. You feel like you're actually part of such a larger hive mind.
I
So
thought
fun.
I thought we were talking about that later.
Yes. Yes, we are. We're talking about that later. With Dragon's
But
Dogma. Yeah,
no, I mean
it's
with
great.
Dragon's Dogma, dude, like, I haven't played it yet. I haven't even played the first one. I was interested in playing Dragon's Dogma 2, just because it reminds me of Monster Hunter. You know,
Yeah.
so just seeing the gameplay, I'm like, I love Monster Hunter, so just seeing, I'm like, oh, I would want to check that out. But yeah, all these things that are plaguing it right now, it's not making me want to.
I think the best way I could kind of describe it is, yeah, like so when it comes to the gameplay, it is a lot like Monster Hunter, but instead of kind of having your one hub and then going out and having a kind of a pretty finite mission area, that it's just a big open world, kind of like a Fable,
Yep.
and you just run around and find these creatures, these big baddies, and kill them,
Yep.
and kind of like The Witcher. I think The Witcher would be one I would really kind of compare it to as well. I played the first one, absolutely loved it. And this one, I was like, well, I'm really into these games right now. I don't really want to drop the $70 on this if I'm not going to really dedicate the time. I have too many games that I've dropped $70 on
Right.
and barely even played halfway through, if that. So, and then once everything started coming out for it, I'm like, oh God, I do feel like I dodged a bullet right now, and we'll give it a little time in the oven. I think it'll be better.
For
but
sure.
I don't know. Do you think like the games are just coming out like too early? Like, is it pressure on them to release? Because it sounds
And
like
I
it either could have used another year or year and a half or a year or two in the oven, or was it just kind of doomed with frame rates from the get-go, like from how they did everything?
And here's the thing. Obviously, us from the consumer standpoint, we're like, how can you not release a good game? Like, it just only makes sense to put all this time, money, and effort into it that the game comes out great. I honestly think a lot of it is locked behind like marketing of the game, the shareholders, the higher ups that are like, hey, we need to get this game out because I want to start making my investment back.
Right? But
You
then what
know?
about, these trailers and this stuff like that comes out and it's not like actual gameplay. Like they hype the, I understand the marketing, but when you market to the point that like you're not getting the game that you're being advertised, like Cyberpunk, it's like you see all this and they're advertising
Yeah. Yep.
the graphics and this and that, and then all of a sudden it comes out and it's like, what?
Right.
Like, and
Right.
again, they said it was going to be like current gens were going to work on it, and I think that one in particular would have had a lot better showing if they just came out and said like, hey, you are not going to be able to play this unless you're on a next gen
Right.
or have a decent PC.
Right.
But Dragon's Dogma, there are people with a 4090 and that can barely maintain a 30 frame rate. And so it's like there's these like super crazy high-end computers that are
Yeah.
just struggling. And if you can't play at least 60 frames a second,
Oh,
like the
100%. Yeah.
difference between 30 and 60 is crazy, which I didn't
That's
realize till I
yeah.
was able to switch myself. I went from a 720p at 30 frames a second, which is what I was at when I started streaming.
Yep.
And then I got this monitor and it was a 1080p monitor
Yep.
and it's actually a 240 hertz monitor. So if I had the equipment, I could run up to 240 frames
Sure.
a second. But just going from 720 30 to 1080p at 60 was like, oh my god, dude,
Right.
that was ridiculous. That
Right.
was like going from my 32-inch bubble screen, my like 480p
Tube
to my
TV.
yeah, going from my 480 to
Yeah.
1080 was like, what the fuck, dude?
Yes, for real. All right, man. The next topic we got to talk about is a game that we both, I feel like, have wanted to play, just
Yeah.
haven't had a chance yet. But Larian Studios, the devs of Baldur's Gate 3, has officially commented and said that they are not going to make any DLC for the game. They're not going to make Baldur's Gate 4. They're done completely with the IP, and them as a studio are moving on to do completely different games.
Yeah,
I
I
feel
had
like-
not
I
heard
feel
that
like
yet.
that's
So when I saw that, I was like, I'm kind of a little shocked that
right. I feel like that
there's not
sucks.
something.
Yeah.
And
So
it
here,
was such a big success too that it'd be like, well, even if there wasn't something in the works, there'd still be time, but I guess
Right.
what are they working on that they don't want to kind of move those resources to work
Right.
on that? They
Yeah.
must have something else like
Right.
big in the
Well,
works.
they don't want to do the Dungeon and Dragons IP anymore, so it's left back to Wizards of the Coast own the IP still, right?
Okay.
So that's not saying that there'll never be a DLC for it. It's just another studio other than Larian would have to pick it up.
Yeah, I wonder. I was just trying to look up real quick to see if
Yeah.
like Larian Studios confirmed titles.
But
So it looks like, yeah, they might have started to work on a Baldur's Gate 3 DLC and then canceled it.
uh-huh.
So it makes me wonder,
Were they forced to? Chapman
like,
in
like
chat
they
did
would
say
have to.
Chapman said
Go ahead.
the I heard it's because they were forced to do it, so they didn't find the motivation to do it anymore, and they stepped down, being forced to make DLC that they didn't want to.
I mean, I suppose I can respect that.
Yeah,
I mean, maybe the with the added success and the more eyes on them, maybe the studio was like, hey, we can try to squeeze this out of people. Like, what company wouldn't want to do that if
yeah,
they can get an extra, million, 10 million? And maybe the devs are the ones that stood up, like you said, and backed down and like, no, if you guys are going to start doing this like kind of dirty tactic shit,
right.
we don't want to do that, so we're just not going to do it.
Dang it! Is
And I
Larian
respect that.
Studios our saving grace? Are they
I don't
like
know.
the best game
I don't
studio
know.
ever?
I think some studios are starting to wake up to what's going on. At least I hope so, man.
Yeah,
And again, the fact that Helldivers can maintain such a player
yeah.
base is such a testament to that.
Well, I mean, that's a great segue, I guess, to bring us into our next topic, because I know
Yeah,
you're just
since
chomping
we're
at the
talking
bit to
about it
talk
anyway.
about it. Helldivers 2. I'm looking right now at the Steam player chart for Helldivers
Uh-huh.
2. How long has the game been out?
Came out, I think, late January,
Okay.
maybe like
So,
early February. It's been out maybe like 6 weeks, 7 weeks.
right. We're looking at. Um, why isn't this loading? So we're talking about the game that's been out for, what, 3 months? Right? Roughly?
Something like that, yeah.
Okay. So right now there
Looks like it may
are.
have come out February 24th
Wait, that's not it.
or February 8th. It came out February 8th, 2 months ago.
Helldivers 2
So I'm
current.
looking at the Steam BD right now, or DB, and it says release date 8th of February 2024.
There we go. Okay. Yeah. So we're looking at right now. So that's been out, a couple months or whatever. This game is still actively over 200,000 people in the game.
Yeah.
228,000 people. Now, it is starting to taper off a little bit,
I was
right?
I was just looking at some of these trends like that, and I was like, yeah, it's
I I love how I say it's tapering off and it's still 228,000 people.
I mean, but
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 it
look
is
at
like it's
this
going
March
down.
17th over there on like St. Patty's Day, there was up to 378,000
Yeah.
people playing. And then compare that to, yeah, I mean where we're at now, that's a loss of 100 and I mean like a third of
Yeah.
the player base
Yep.
right there in the last like week.
And I'm sure once they introduce a new faction or whatever, then that'll jump up again. They introduce a whole new
Oh,
faction.
that's kind of there's been a lot of leaks. So they're adding a lot more weapons. They're adding new stratagems. They're adding sounds like you can customize your equipment to add your own like red dot scope or this scope or add a
Good,
muzzle
good, good.
or it
Yeah.
sounds like you're going to be able to customize your weapons a little bit. But it does sound like sometime either next month or early May is when we can expect to find the Illuminate.
Okay.
And even the gaming studio has kind of Arrowhead has hinted at this as well. Like there's a new training tip on the loading screens before you go in that'll say like, while you're out on planets, if you find what looks like ancient alien ruins, don't believe that, like propaganda. There is no such thing as like ancient civilizations. And so they're starting to drop these little hints. And then
Sure.
obviously we've talked about the blue lasers and this and that. One of the things that got leaked was a new possible sample, like a new resource that
Okay.
is the symbol of the Illuminate. Also, the faction symbol popped up on one of their kind of roadmaps that got leaked for next month. So something is going to come into play somewhere. I'm really curious how these how they're going to get introduced
Sure.
and kind of what they're going to take over. We already had the TCS, the terminated control system that we
Yep.
were like spewing the gas for. It's already mutated some of the bugs. We got the shriekers, we got the flying insects now. It looks like possible next month we're going to have like larvae that we're going to be having to farm for to bring back for like research purposes on the bugs.
I
Um,
do like that they have a variety of rotating missions, so it's not the same mission over and over again. It's different objectives and different
right.
styles of play. So I do like that they switched that up. Kind of keeps the game fresh.
Yep. And like, right now we're on a big push to get the automatons out. There's these factories we're trying to basically get rid of. And so that's I've been playing so much with the bugs. I thought it was kind of fun to go in and play against the robots, although the play style is completely different.
They're hard AF.
Yeah, I went in and I usually can do hard or extreme on my my own and go in and do that pretty good with the bugs.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm gonna go in on easy. I'm gonna go in on easy to just kind of
Test the
get a feel for
waters.
this.
Yes.
Dip my toe in, see how the water feels. I died enough that I lost. I failed the mission. I died like 8 times in like 10 minutes. I was like, wow.
So what
Okay.
you're saying is
I'm on
I'll never.
easy,
So what you're
and
saying
this
is
is
I'll
tough.
never die.
So we may or may not be going immediately to automatons since we unlocked Helldive the other night.
I don't.
Dyslexic and I unlocked Helldive.
I don't know who you're talking about, but I ain't doing Helldiver
And
difficulty.
we're like, how funny would that be to just put MrJ right in the robots
Um,
on Helldive?
Not even
See
close.
how long it takes his destroyer to leave orbit.
Not even close. Oh,
Oh
no, my
no,
internet.
it's like, and then 20 minutes later he's on Skull and Bones.
Yes. Yes.
But what do you think about like Helldivers 2 and the time that you've played? Like, what's your honest opinions or thoughts,
Um.
or maybe a way the game could improve?
Yeah. I. So. I just talked about earlier how I like that there's a variety of objectives that they're coming out with. You know what I'm saying? But I will also say that I do feel like you're grinding the same like 4 game modes until a new
Yeah.
one comes out. Do you see what I'm
Yep.
saying? And
100%.
it's like that not necessarily that it gets repetitive because every time you go in there, you're going against different waves. You might be going different.
Yeah.
So it's different when you're in the game. But I feel that it is fairly repetitive in like, oh, it's the same 3 or 4 missions until
Yeah,
they come out with
objectives, and so
a
it's
new
like
one.
just stagnant.
Right. So it's like that's kind of been my only thing. Like the game's a lot of fun, don't get me wrong. And it's just crazy like chaos. But again, my first gripe on it would be that I'm like, oh, there's not really a variety of missions, it seems like.
Right.
Do you agree or
No,
or do you kind of look
agree
past that?
100%. Well, it's no, I agree 100%, and I do kind of look past it in a sense where, as you said, it's like, yeah, you might have the same main objectives, but you don't land in the same spot. Every area is kind of procedurally generated, so it's
Sure.
not like you're in the exact same terrain doing the exact
Yep.
same. It's not like you're speed running this. With you doing the same route, the same things, same timing. So there is that variety in there. But again, yeah, it's really boring when it's like, okay, launch ICBM, or we're going to do one of the other ones, or rescue the people. But I think it's really the people in there with you that really
Yeah.
kind of make the repetition fun.
Yeah. I definitely
Now
could
with
not grind it
myself,
solo.
they're talking about all of these new stratagems and all this new stuff they're adding, and I'm just like, the game's only been out like 6 weeks. Are they adding too much too soon? Like,
Can they
sometimes
keep up
it's
this?
just in
Is that what you're trying to say? Can they
in
keep
my
up
opinion,
the?
that it's like, at what point does the game just become completely oversaturated in things? So it's like, sometimes you worry about not having enough to do or not enough choices, but it does feel like that every other week they're coming out with a new weapon or a new stratagem or a new, and it's just, how long can they maintain that before it's just like, literally, what else do you do?
Yeah. Yeah. And I do think they need to kind of rotate what they're bringing in. Like obviously new stratagems, new guns, like that's cool. But maybe this next rotation, leave everything the same, come up with new game modes, right?
Oh, I think that well, and
Like
I think
what it
stuff like that happens organically through like the story, like the TCS and
yeah.
stuff like that.
What if, now hear me out here, not just to dive
Hmm.
in to save the planet. What if you go into I mean, you could call it a training room per se, but like, what if you do like a horde mode? You know, like where it's just wave after wave, and you try to see how many waves you can get through, and then obviously each wave more bugs come at you and bigger bugs and you know whatnot, and then it's kind of like a not even a leaderboard, but just like oh I made all the way up through wave 17. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, that could, where it's like, yeah, Gears of War style, where it goes through like 50 waves or something like
Right,
that, and
and that's all it is. Like there's
every 10 waves is a boss battle, and
yeah,
then
like there's no missions involved. It's just you're in its own separate environment or world or whatever it may be, and it's just wave after wave. You know, just a fun little just see how many waves you can last, like zombies type of thing.
right,
You know,
yeah.
it's like what
Like
if they
I
introduce
hear
something
that, and
like
I
that?
immediately just think of, again, I'll reference Gears of War on that. I loved Gears of War Horde mode. The only problem was is it took about 2.5 hours to get through all like 50 waves,
Yeah,
which was you really got to set some block of time to do that because it gets long.
right. So
But
I don't know.
that could be interesting.
I don't know.
I
I'm
can
just
see where
trying to
that would be fun. I would totally be on board 100%.
right like a
I
zombie
just with
style
the
mode.
way that the game, kind of the live service, the way that they have their live service set up, and the whole like kind of the live story, active story, like I don't really see them looking at that as a viable option for what they're looking to continue with that IP.
Sure.
But as a player, I think that would be fun. And if they ever happen to come across this, or if that does get mentioned to them, I hope it is something that they would consider, because
Right.
I think something like that, like who's the best four team like Helldiver squad out there,
Yeah.
and it would get to a point where even the Helldive difficulty for some people, it's just it's like them. They might as well be on easy because they're game
They
sweats.
figured it
I'm
out. Yeah.
still I've always said I'm a B tier gamer, but
Yep.
for those people that do want to grind maybe a little harder, yeah, have like some uber ultimate insane Helldive arena or something, or the arena of champions or something like that, and you could have it be like the big stadium gladiatorial style or something like that, which would be they could have it down on like Super Earth or something like that, and they could have like a big coliseum that they could put like worms and bugs and other stuff in, or
Ye-
robots.
Oh man, again, I'm just trying to think of like random stuff, but I mean,
Yeah.
they could even create like a tower defense style game mode. You know, where like you're building a funnel, I guess, right, to funnel all of them in, and then you're trying to put as many your stratagems down. Maybe you're putting your turrets down along the way, and
Hmm.
you're trying to like do a tower defense type of thing to stop them from getting to Super Earth or the main base, or I don't know. Like I said, I'm just trying to think of random things just for conversation purposes, obviously. But
Yeah,
like
right.
we have the same
We
like I
have
said
conversations and podcasts. We're supposed to talk about things.
we have the same like three or
How this
four
is about?
missions that I'm like, I mean, again, I enjoy the game, but after playing it for 4 or 5 hours straight, I'm like, okay, I can play a different game now because I've already done the same game modes 3 times.
Yeah,
Do you get what I'm saying?
I do.
So that's why I'm like, is there other like game modes they can do or other things? Like, what if they did not a survival type game mode, but like where you have to go.
Like survival's already tough enough, buddy.
Well, I know, right? But what I'm saying is like, so the mission is to launch a nuke, right? But you have to build the nuke in the game. So you have to go around different areas of the map and get like a nuclear reactor core, get like the rocket engine. You see what I'm saying? Go get all these
Right.
pieces, then bring it back to the place. Wait till it gets built to fend off waves of bugs coming after you while you're building the rocket. And you see what I'm saying? Just different styles of game
Arrowhead,
modes.
hire this man. Hire this man.
I mean, but just different styles of game modes. So it's not the same three the whole time.
Right. I mean, and I get that 100%, which is why I always get burnt out on games like Apex or Phasmophobia. It's just like it's just all rinse and repeat, and it's just like, okay, it's different every time, but you're basically going through the exact same motions every time.
Right.
And I think the community and player engagement and the different interactions you have with people on the field, I think, is what really keeps it interesting for myself.
Yeah.
Oh, what was it? I was playing with 11 last night, and he punched me off a bridge. I was so mad he killed, and I fell into like this deep lake. I lost everything I had. My pack was gone. My samples. It's just, I don't know, the shenanigans in that game
Yeah.
are absolutely
Yeah,
hilarious.
I do agree with
Or
you
I
on that.
accidentally, I was shooting the robots today, and I must have struck a hell bomb
Uh-huh.
because all of a sudden I just see this bloody torso just go flying like
Love
a
it.
mile down the road, dude. It was just like I'm just
Yes.
shooting, having a good time, and then all of a sudden just I just body parts flying, and I'm like,
Yes.
wait, what just happened, dude?
Yeah. That was
Oh yeah,
that.
and don't forget, there's a lot of mines. There's a lot of mines tonight. I
Wait,
hope you're
why?
ready.
Oh, because of the
The
robots?
the automaton planets, yeah, they're most of their like there's mines. I found that out the hard way really quickly
Oh
because I kept
God.
walking into them and blowing up, and I'm like, how did I die from explosion? Oh yeah, there's mines.
I gotta figure out how to put a death counter on my stream, and then just have a
Yeah,
death counter going the whole time I play Helldivers.
yeah, about that.
But all right, man, we got a community. We only got one community question
Yeah.
tonight. Before we get into some Helldivers ourselves, again, like I said, community questions. If you, the chat, the viewers, have any questions that you would like to ask us on our weekly podcast, be sure to join Schmidtty32 or my Discord, or just kind of hang out with us on stream.
Type in
Ask us.
chat right now if y'all have any
Yep.
questions.
Ask any questions for us, and we will try to get to them. If not, answer them on every episode of the After Hours podcast. But the one question that we have today from the community is, in your opinion, Schmitty, what do you think would be the most interesting time in history? Or I guess, what would be a time in history that you would go to if you
Like
could?
one, you know, I've actually I don't know if you ever thought about this question, but I have, and for me it'd be the '60s.
Okay.
The true hippie in me. Like I just think what a crazy time to be alive for, the racial equality movement,
Uh-huh.
the women's rights movement, the everyone's on LSD and wearing tie dye and smoking weed and like it
Dude,
just
for real.
it just seems like such an interesting time in history where
Yeah.
between like social aspects of the world to science and technology, the boom and kind of like I think the whole like computers science back in the day, it's like its very first stages would be fascinating. The whole like going to the moon, and it's just what a crazy time to be alive, you know. And I would and I won't lie, dude, purely sex, drugs, rock and roll. Like I would go back to the '60s and I would
Yeah.
get freaky deaky.
Dude,
That's
yes.
100%, 100%. I would love to just
So
go party in the '60s.
I
Just
have.
that free will, just do whatever you want, orgy, like just that whole bohemian lifestyle, man. I think
Yeah.
it'd be really interesting to experience.
I have two. And one is kind of piggybacking off of what you're saying, but like the 80s. You know, like the hair bands, the rock, just
Yeah,
the
right.
just the drugs and alcohol and just the crazy like
Is it the with the Wolf of Wall Street? What is it, Ludes or whatever?
yeah.
I don't
It's
know,
like
like
it's like that. Like that would be a crazy time to go. But my first initial thought, because you mentioned the 60s, I'm like, ooh, the 80s would be kind of cool too. You know, going
yeah,
like, for
right.
the rock phase. But my first initial one was like medieval times, being like a
Right.
knight and like jousting and just like that whole like kings and queens and just to see what it was like. You know,
Right.
I would like to
I think it
experience.
would definitely be interesting. Like I would think about that and how fun like it would be fun and interesting, but I just think of how many like the bubonic plague
That's
and like some
true.
of these other,
Yeah.
and I'm just like
Yes.
there's just so much like
Yeah.
ugh back then.
Yeah.
But It really, really wouldn't matter, I guess, at the end of the day, if we like as future folk could go back in time because we would still be like immunized to that stuff. So it really wouldn't be a big deal for us personally, I guess.
Dude, honestly,
But it's just
if
like that's the part that would worry me the most is I'm just like, oh God, dude, everything's dirty and diseased and
dude,
but
yeah,
the other thing is I very much and I think I'd go to maybe like the 1800s or something like that. Like I would have loved to seen the Midwestern plains before kind of modernization and like kind of us building like before the roads, like to just go through Iowa with the rolling hills and the tall grass. Like I'm sure you've been around places where you have the natural like CRP land, the tall grass fields, the prairies,
yep,
and just to see that goes on for, I mean, as far as your eye can see with the cricks and the animals, and it just, I think that would have been such a cool sight to see, like
sure.
1800s Iowa, like summertime, where it's like 75 out, just sunshine and tall grass.
Suffering from dysentery, like I get it, I get
Oh,
it.
you know, I think I think that would be just such a cool sight to see.
Plain Oregon
It's just
Trail,
the untouched land
yeah,
before it was
yeah,
developed. I think would just be
yep.
awe-inspiring. The fresh air before all the pollution, before
Dyslexic put a
microplastics in your blood.
right. Well, it's probably worse back then, don't you think? Than any
No, it's
filters.
worse now.
Okay,
100%
that's true.
worse now.
Dyslexic put a question in chat. Do you think the Illuminate will be introduced before the Hive Lords in Helldivers?
I don't think so.
I don't know what any of those words mean, so
I think the Hive Lords are. I think the Hive Lords are going to be next. I think that's going to be. I think them setting up the robot missions right now, I think is going to set up the Hive Lords. I'm curious to see what's going to happen, but I think the Hive Lords will be here before the Illuminate. 100%.
What about the Illuminati?
The Illuminati.
Yes.
Are we going to talk about that disgraced YouTuber?
Oh, no, but I need to see pictures.
Illuminati.
But all right, man. If there's no more questions, I believe that's gonna do it for today's episode, my friend. We have some divers of hell to do.
Mm-hmm. We got things to do.
So
Robots to kill, oil to shed.
be sure to stick around, you guys. Schmidtty32 and myself are going to be diving into hell and clearing out all the robots from everywhere. And we're going to clear out every planet by ourselves, single-handedly.
100%.
So,
No deaths.
be sure to stick around every Tuesday, 8:30 p.m. Central Time, when we do another episode here on the After Hours podcast. I appreciate you being here. Schmitty, go ahead and give us a send-off, and we will see you guys next week.
Thank you all so much for tuning in tonight and hanging out for another episode of the After Hours podcast. As always, stay classy, people, and for democracy.
And,
And
holy moly.
holy, it's Raiden Stromboli.
Yeah!
I did that. Now I'm hungry again. Now I'm hungry.